Izuku Midoriya. In a hero society full of people with quirks, other known as superpowers, Izuku was one that would have some ultimate power. A power that would surpass everybody you could possibly think of. But when that power comes, will it corrupt his mind? Will it certainly take over? Will him being the reincarnation of such a powerful character by the name of Rimuru Tempest affect his mind? Affect the person Izuku is? Well, that's what we'll find out in this What If Deku fanfiction. Yo, what is good, everybody? It's your boy Golden Falls, Golden What If, whatever you want to call me. And I'm back. And we are here with actually a My Hero Academia What If fanfiction. Some of you really wanted it. Some of you were impartial about it. But I tried a compromise. It's been a month. I've took a little break off of it. But I know a lot of you still want Deku What Ifs. So I decided I would do things that I would only enjoy in terms of, oh, I like this idea, so I'm going to do it. That's what I'm going to be doing solely, more or less. So if you come up with a really good idea, then I will most likely do it. But as you can see, we are here, and this is basically what if Deku was the reincarnation of Rimuru, or Deku reincarnated as Rimuru Tempest. So if you enjoy, make sure to leave a like, sub, and comment down below. And I'm not going to waste any more of your time, and let's just get right into the what if. Let's get it. Izuku Midoriya was born into a world full of heroes, villains, all alike. But everybody wanted one thing, and that was to be strong. That was to have an amazing quirk that would allow them to do various things and become, just like All Might, the #1 hero. Izuku wanted the same thing. So at the age of 4, when he went to the doctors and got his quirk analyzed, let's just say he was a happy boy.
Yes, Miss Midoriya, it's a pleasure to see you. We'll run some tests on your little boy here, and I'll get back to you at what we find.
Izuku Midoriya, or Izuku, got his tests run to see what quirk he currently has, and when he came out of the office, or the doctor's office, his mother heard some amazing news, that he had one of the strongest quirks that this doctor has ever seen.
Yes, I don't know how to say this exactly, but his quirk is built up of various things. And when I say various, I mean various. He is somewhat like a slime, a transformation quirk in a way, but not just that. He has the ability to change his form, but he also has various skills. It seems he has a skill that gives him this infinite information, mind accelerate, to basically analyze and assess things super quickly, to basically create almost anything out of nothing. He's able to synthesize, he's able to separate, skill modify. He's able to do so many things. And on top of this, that's not just it. He has other things as well. He has a storage within his body that is nothing like I've ever seen. He has this skill that basically is called Predator. It more or less uses his own body to absorb other things and learn various skills. His power, it could be infinite. I hope your boy is on the track to be a hero, because that's exactly what we need in this society.
Wow, are you serious? Izuku is that strong? No, definitely, he's definitely on the path to be a hero. Isn't that right? Izuku nods his head quickly and says that he definitely is, and he would be happy to be a hero. He wants to be just like All Might, in which the doctor nods and says that he expected nothing less from someone as capable as him. So, that's what happens. He gets informed that he has insane potential, and Izuku decides to head off back home with his mother once again. Once he heads back to school, though, the next day, he begins to tell everybody about his quirk, but he explains that it's so confusing, that he's kind of like part slime, and then he has various skills that he doesn't necessarily understand, but he'll learn as he goes along. But let's just say, a lot of the kids there don't really believe him, and they say that he might just that he just has a transformation quirk, because all Izuku can do at the moment is turn into a slime, a small slime that actually can sense various things around him, but that's all he can transform into. And they don't even find that cool. They think it's kind of lame, Nothing compared to like Bakugo's quirk, where he can more or less just shoot explosions out of his hands. Like, that is cool. So Izuku grows up throughout middle school more or less disliking or not really enjoying being around these other people. I wouldn't say disliking them. He's still that upbeat kid that he always was, but at the end of the day, they did make fun of him for basically just saying he has a transformation quirk and that he's not actually strong, in which obviously is not the case. But Izuku decides that he wouldn't argue about it, and even Bakugo, his so-called best friend, began to bully him for it. But obviously Izuku, being the cool-headed person he is, he doesn't really care, and this actually does frustrate Bakugo more and more, at the fact that Bakugo doesn't like being looked down on, and that's just the fact of the matter. But with that said, Deku or Izuku just goes through life relatively easily. Yes, not everybody believes him, quote unquote, but after some time with basically like maybe like in gym classes and stuff, and they see that he's just smarter and stronger than practically everybody, and the fact that the more he's doing simple tasks, the better he's getting at them. Let's just say he's like practically genius level intelligence. He actually doesn't have to really worry about much. And on top of this, he has a little voice in his head that will tell him everything he needs to know. This voice is more or less a unique skill that he has called Great Sage, or like a Wise One type of ability, where he basically can think for himself, but it's like another person, an outer intelligence that's smarter than even him, and she thinks, or it, or whatever you want to call it, thinks for Izuku as well. So let's just say this made his life a lot easier. This then finally leads to their, or close to their ending of middle school, in which they have all these papers that get passed around by the teacher to basically write up where they, or what they want to do. But everybody shouts out that they want to be a hero. Like All Might, like every top hero, they want to be the hero and go to a hero school. In which the teacher says that that's exactly what he thought would happen. Yes, and even Katsuki Bakugo and Izuku Midoriya, they're going to, or want to try to go to UA. They definitely have great potential. Bakugo is second in the class and Izuku is first. And right when the teacher says this, a lot of people are kind of shocked. They know Izuku's smart and whatever, but they still didn't think that he was as smart as Bakugo. Frankly, they have a lot of bias toward Bakugo, and that's blatantly obvious. But even with that said, Izuku keeps on trucking along and just ignoring all these haters for say. He knows the potential he has personally, and as obviously throughout the years, he's gained a decent idea of how to use a ton of his powers. He's definitely been blessed with all the powers he's gotten, and the more he learns, the more he realizes how strong he actually is. And this then leads obviously to them heading off for the day. Izuku begins to write in his notebook more and more about the skills he begins to learn. He writes down about the wisdom that he has, which is more or less the Wise One, or the Lord of Wisdom, and more or less just that unique skill of Great Sage, as I said earlier. Also writing down about Predator, about Gluttony, about basically his ability to devour and absorb other beings or other animals and stuff like that. Something that he personally wouldn't go do, especially because that is kind of murder. But with that said, he just wants to keep that in mind because after all, it could become a possible outcome if it came to that. He also learned about his regeneration as a slime, or part slime, he thinks that at least he can transform into. He actually has some tangibility, and also the fact that he has practical infinite regeneration. Yes, he can technically still die, but he learned pretty quickly after breaking his arm one time during his small little training, and it practically healed in a matter of just minutes. 20 minutes later and it was fully healed. On top of this, he has a sense of everything around him, being that of light, sound, smell, heat in a giant radius. He has more or less heightened senses to the point where most of the things around him are practically moving in slow motion if he basically so chooses to make that happen. On top of this, he has some other abilities he actually learned that he had pretty soon. But let's just say he doesn't have a complete understanding of them. because frankly, he has some really powerful things like Black Lightning, which basically shoots down a giant lightning bolt, which he doesn't really understand or really want to use to that extent because that is a bit dangerous. But he also has a lot of other stuff that are simple things like telepathy. He has maybe even some poison breath and stuff like that. But there is one thing missing. It seems like he has some odd missing slot that involves someone by the name of Veldora, but he's not sure who he is. Maybe he personally is related to Veldora? Maybe he's some sort of reincarnate? And frankly, Izuku doesn't know. But he does learn a bunch from Great Sage and does learn something about being some sort of reincarnate. But even with that said, Great Sage is limited in terms of the info Great Sage has, so Izuku doesn't know that he is the reincarnation of Rimuru Tempest. But he'd find out that he'd meet another reincarnate pretty soon. Izuku would then finally approach a bridge. He would go underneath that said bridge and begin walking. But as he walks through the bridge, he begins to hear things, sense things, and he actually senses a being underground that is flying at insane speeds, but another being that is actually approaching that other monster. So Izuku kind of keeps walking and realizes the monster is coming out of the sewer right beneath him. When the sludge monster comes busting out of the sewer, he immediately reacts and is able to get out from underneath the bridge, sensing the other thing that is coming. But he can sense that the other person has an odd body shape. At least seems like he's a giant man, or she's a giant man, or giant woman, excuse me. And frankly, he's not sure what's coming, but he believes to think that maybe taking things into his own hands isn't the best idea. So he decides to turn into a slime form and just jump around and dodge as much as possible. And even when the monster tries to absorb him, or the sludge monster tries to basically take over, he's so tangible to the point that even the sludge monster can't even wrap his goo around him. It's practically impossible. He can't even get a hold of Izuku. Izuku, though, is just stalling at this point. If that person that is coming is a bad person, then he'll do what he must do in terms of trying to run away and getting away. It wouldn't be too hard for him to leave. But if that's a good person, then he can stall it out for a pro hero. The pro hero defeats the monster, and then all ends well, right? All is that ends well. So Izuku just waits more and more, and then finally the figure arrives, and Izuku pulls away from the monster, getting away immediately as he sees it's All Might. And he hears one thing. Detroit Smash! Smashing into the sludge villain. The goo just splatters everywhere. Izuku watches this in complete awe and is kind of fanboying at this point, and Great Sage even points out that Izuku is overly excited and his heart rate has skyrocketed even compared to him actually fighting, which is where it should have skyrocketed. Izuku tells Great Sage to shush up, but Great Sage reminds him that he can only hear her, so why would being quiet even matter? But with that said though, it's not really a big deal. He finally is able to meet his one hero, All Might. He introduces himself to All Might and is freaking out, fanboying, asking for autographs, blah blah blah, and he begins to say that he's such a big fan that he's his favorite hero. And All Might begins to say that he thanks the boy.
Thank you, my boy, but unfortunately I have to leave.
Izuku wants to stop him though, saying that from a young age he was told that he has great potential, but he hopes to be trained by someone like All Might, even if it's not like All Might himself. And All Might nods and looks at him and says,
"Are you going to UA?"
Yeah, that's my plan.
Good, then you will have someone like me training you. That's a promise.
All Might winks and then jumps off. Izuku watches as All Might jumps off and jumps away. He watches in awe and begins to think to himself that he will make sure that he is just like his hero. He's gonna make sure that he's just like All Might. No, he's gonna be even better than All Might. He's gonna be stronger than All Might, and he's gonna save even more people. With what he has, he can make an impact even more than All Might himself. Izuku begins to think that in his head as he heads home. He tells his mother what happened, in which she kind of freaks out at the fact that her baby almost got hurt. But Izuku says that there was no chance that villain had basically the repertoire to actually hurt him. In which she understands that, but still, when you come home and you say that, oh, sorry, I'm late because a sludge villain tried to kill me, it's something a mother would worry about. Izuku apologizes for making her basically fear the worst, and she says that it's completely fine, and that she's proud of her son for basically meeting All Might and surviving a villain attack with relative ease. Izuku nods, and they actually eat their most favorite food they possibly can think of, and this would lead to a time skip of 10 months where Izuku trains for the UA entrance exam. Let's say during the training, he begins to learn more and more about his powers. He can't do insane amounts of training. Obviously, he doesn't have a supervision of a pro hero, and that's just not something he would be able to do, but even though that's the case, he can still sharpen the skills he has. And let's just say, with the high intelligence he has, and let's just say fast learning rates, he can learn martial arts and some basic things relatively easily, and he probably was doing this all throughout his life. Because it's not like the Deku in, canon should have been just learning martial arts throughout his life, instead of just, saying that I'm gonna be a quirkless hero. Sorry, that's just, something I wanted to bring up. But beyond that, let's just get back into the what if. He trains for 10 months. Like I said, it's nothing crazy. He's not allowed to use his quirk outside, but he does learn various skills that he actually has. Various skills that he would basically be able to perfect over a large amount of time. But luckily, with his analysis skills and stuff like that, it makes things a lot easier to use. But still, experience is one thing and knowing something is another, so experience in the battlefield is something he definitely wants. With that said, the 10 months are now up. He did his studying. Frankly, he didn't have to do much studying, but he did his studying, did his training, and the UA entrance exam is right around the corner. And when he arrives at the UA entrance exam, he begins to walk forward, completely happy. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna be the greatest hero of all. Oh no. He trips on a rock and begins to fall to the ground, but just as he does this, someone grabs him. Oh, thank you so much. The girl nods at him and says that her name is Ochako Uraraka, and that it's really no problem, that she kind of has a quirk for this, so it kind of works out. He nods and apologizes for the trouble as they both walk in, as Bakugo is kind of behind Izuku, in which he was kind of yelling at him the whole time, but Izuku kind of learned to block out that side. He kind of just silences Bakugo. I mean, it's not too outlandish when you have godly senses, but that's beyond the point, right? So they head in, and President Mike is there explaining everything that's going to go down. They talk about the written exam, which Izuku will have no problem with, obviously, so they get sent into different rooms and take that written exam. After the written exam, though, they all come back out, and they begin to get explained the practical. The practical has a bunch of robots. 1-pointer, 2-pointer, 3-pointer, and just as the 0-pointer is about to be explained, a man by the name of Tenya Ida, with blue hair, begins to stand up.
This is very unprofessional. You should definitely realize that there's a 0-pointer and explain it to us.
And obviously President Mike was going to explain this, but Ida kind of jumped the gun trying to be a good student, which he's kind of is, but also not at the same time. But yeah, I digress. But after President Mike explains everything and says more or less to just stay away from those 0-pointers, that's basically what they're going to be doing. And Izuku heads off to his gate and gets ready for the practical exam. He stands there in complete wait. He wants to dash off as fast as possible and just destroy as many things as he can possibly see, in which he has totally, and I mean utterly, the ability to do such a thing. So right when those gates open, he goes sprinting off, changing his body slowly into this odd battle armor. And it's actually from a skill he learned. So he does know how to use this thing called Poisonous Breath, which they're robots, so that wouldn't work. Paralyzing Breath, which they're robots, so that won't really work. But he does have battle armor. It's this scaly armor around his body that is basically harder than steel, but feels as light as a feather for him. It's because weight manipulation is practically nothing for him. So he's able to actually punch through these robots as if it were nothing. Frankly, he has really strong physical strength, basically far beyond the normal human, so breaking these robots and running really fast in this battle armor suit is practically really easy. And he does just that. He just smashes through them more and more and more and more. And he just watches as the points rack up, and rack up. But up in the stands, there are teachers, there are pro heroes currently watching Izuku go insane, destroying more and more. And as they're watching this, they're just shocked in amazement.
Now, who is this? This is pretty interesting.
Yes, Aizawa, very interesting. He's very strong. We should check out his quirk. What is it?
Let's see. Oh, right here. What the? It just says it's some transformation quirk with a bunch of other perks. I don't get it.
Oh, now that is definitely something else. Maybe the perks are explained. Aizawa begins to look through all of the quote-unquote perks, or possible things that Izuku has, and the list is 3 pages long. And he is complete and utter shock about this, and it even says at the end that that's not it, that there's more, that it's just limited to this because there's no reason to say any more about what he can do. They're shocked, but they say that this boy right here is going to be something else, and that's a promise. Just as they say this though, they begin to talk about maybe giving the entirety of this place a challenge and activating the 0 Point robot. So they do just that. The 0 Point robot comes out of nowhere, in which it actually hurts some of the students and forces them either to run away or get stuck under rubble, in which one of them do get stuck under rubble. An Ochako Uraraka, who has overused her quirk, is too tired and hurt to actually help herself get out of the situation. But just as the 0 Pointer is about to touch her and about to get her down, Izuku actually jumps in front of her, grabbing the leg of the 0 Pointer and begins to push it over. As he does this, lightning begins to strike down. A black lightning strikes down onto the robot, basically getting rid of the electrical circuits entirely. As he slams it to the ground, it explodes, and along with a ton of other buildings. And he helps Ochako up and actually puts his hand on her leg and is able to partially heal her, and healing up her leg so it's just a small limp. Yeah, sorry I can't heal you more. I'm still trying to get a grasp on the whole outer healing thing. I don't really understand it. I have my own regeneration, but supposedly I can heal other people. I don't know. It's kind of confusing and I don't really get it entirely, but I'll have to work on that, I guess. Ochako is kind of shocked to hear this. This guy, he's so casually talking about his regeneration and that he can heal other people, just casually like that. As she's thinking about this, Izuku puts out his hand to help her up and bring her to Recovery Girl to finish off the rest of the healing, in which she does just that relatively easily, just healing Ochako up the rest of the way. She asks for his name and he obviously gives it, Izuku Midoriya, and he basically quickly bids her farewell. He doesn't really want to talk too much, he has some things to do and wants to learn more and more. He has a lot of things to know, let's just say that. His power is so unknown to him to the point that that's kind of what he's been obsessing over for a long time. He has great sage who will tell him as much as they possibly know in entirety, but at the end of the day, he's learning how to use skills he's never seen before in his life. So the more and more he learns, and which the more and more time he has to dedicate, that's what he wants to do. But just as he's leaving back home to basically celebrate with his mother, not only does someone approach him, but the voice in his head begins to talk once again. Izuku, I figured something out. Okay, what is that? It seems that this Veldora fellow, it seems that this person has a connection with you, but it actually is a reincarnate. Your theory was correct. Oh wow, that's a first. Normally you correct me on my theories. Yes, actually. But with that said, it seems that this Veldora is a storm dragon, and it seems like someone else might actually be the reincarnation of that said storm dragon. Whoa, that's something else. What are you talking about? A reincarnation like me? Like I'm a reincarnate and then they're reincarnate? How would I even know who they are? You'd know when you see them. For sure, I promise you that. You'd actually automatically know. Since you have a connection with this so-called Veldora Lord of Storms, you would quickly understand exactly who that is. Oh, I guess that kind of makes sense. Sort of. But, I mean, that barely does make sense. Izuku cuts himself off because, well, there is someone standing in front of him. It's actually two people, Aizawa and Nezu. And they're kind of weirded out by the fact that this kid is straight up talking to himself. Look, I know this looks weird, but it's part of my quirk. You can believe me or not. No quirk analysis test is actually going to tell you that, though. She actually has a voice. I call her Great Sage. She's kind of like my only friend. It's not sad, I promise. It's kind of sad. But still, what do you need? Aizawa and Nezu are kind of confused. Like, the kid has a sense of humor, doesn't really take things too seriously, but he's very lighthearted. And it seems like he is kind of telling the truth about this. In which Aizawa just explains that they were impressed with his show of power. He did a lot, he means. I mean, I did okay. I destroyed a decent amount of robots. I mean, that big 0-pointer, it doesn't count for points, so that's whatever. But at least I helped that girl out. Aizawa then begins to say that he's really smart, but did he not realize the whole test? Oh, the hero thing. Oh yeah, but I don't know how many points you would get for that. I mean, I don't have a scorecard for that. Aizawa then explains that he scored first, by a long shot. He defeated enough robots to basically get him over a 100-point mark, but saving the girl put him even higher. So let's just say he's at about 180. And 180 points puts him number 1 in all of the entrance exams. Aizawa and Nezu then say that they would like him to actually just accept the offer now. They don't want them to, or he doesn't want them or him to go off to another school, and they want him here because they can get his full potential, and that's a promise. In which Izuku says that he wouldn't have gone to any other school anyways, but he'd love some early admissions so he can just move in earlier, and maybe he can use the facility to train at like better ways. In which Aizawa says that is a good idea, that he can personally train him as well. And Izuku is down for this. He hasn't gotten actual serious training since really his martial arts stuff, but most of that martial arts stuff was some basic things, and then he realized that he could just learn all that on the computer. So he just stopped, watching it and stopped training in a dojo. Just a waste of money, honestly. But Izuku then heads back home after basically accepting their offer and tells his mother about it, in which she is extremely excited, saying that they need to celebrate, that they're going to celebrate right now. So they go out for dinner, have a nice night, blah, 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 and more or less just get Izuku ready to head to UA in their dorms. And yes, they have dorms because I do this in my fanfictions because I want to. Beyond the point, but yeah. But yeah, so they move him into dorms quickly, and they basically just all get set up and ready to go. And Izuku's kind of on his own for a bit until people begin to show up. Momo Yaoyorozu, Shoko Todoroki, which is a female Todoroki, which I'm sure some of you know where I'm going with this. But it's not a ship. Get your head out the gutter. But with that said, he does meet some people. The people that were basically just like suggested and went through more or less the recommendation exam and stuff like that. So he meets Shoko Todoroki, and he meets Momo Yaoyorozu, and meets some of the other people that are coming in based on recommendation. So he does meet all of them, introduces himself, but that doesn't really go much. But just as he's shaking Shoko's hand, when he grabs her hand and shakes it, he realizes something. Oh my god. Great Sage? Great Sage begins to talk. Yes, that seems to be the reincarnate of the Storm Dragon Veldora. That's something else. Kind of fits. Half and half quirk, ice and fire. Just as he's saying this, Shoko asks what the heck he's doing. Why are you talking to yourself? Oh, I'm sorry. I have something in my head. I know it sounds kind of weird, but it's just part of my quirk and I can talk to them. And I was actually looking for somebody. I was looking for the reincarnates of Veldora, the Lord of the Storms. And it seems like you're him? Her? Something like that. But it seems like you are the reincarnate of him. And Shoko doesn't know what he's even talking about. You sound crazy. No, I'm definitely no reincarnate of a dragon, okay? I have a fire and ice quirk. It's that simple. Yeah, maybe. But, I at least want to be your friend. I want to get to know you, and maybe one day I can prove that you are Veldora, the Lord of Storms, or the reincarnate of him. And if you're not, you're not. It's that simple. How about it? Izuku puts out his hand, but Shoko rejects it, thinking that he's kind of just a psychopath. And Izuku just shrugs. But Great Sage more or less just says like it doesn't really matter too much at the fact that you could say it's not too big of a deal that she doesn't believe, at least not right now. But with all that said and done, Deku or Izuku begins to wait on the first day of UA High, in which it comes relatively quickly, and he enters his classroom by the name of Class 1A. He sits down and waits for the teacher to arrive, but he can tell that he's just sleeping on the floor. He senses him, but doesn't really say much. He's already talked to Aizawa a couple of times, waiting for the entirety of his class to come in and join him. Once they do, they begin to arrive and begin to talk about what they think is going to happen, in which Aizawa cuts them all off and tells them all to shut their mouths.
Okay, you rejects. Yes, I called you a reject. You really probably don't even deserve to be here. And you're kinda useless. I can just sense the uselessness. Well, whatever. By the way, we're not doing that whole, oh, we're gonna greet you in stuff. I don't care about any of that. All of you are gonna go out there, get on your PE uniforms, and we're gonna do some tests because I don't care about any of your feelings. Now go. Shoo, hurry up.
Aizawa tells them all to go get changed, in which all of them do reluctantly enough because they're kind of confused about what's even going on. But after getting changed, they all are ready for their quirk assessment test. Once that quirk assessment test starts though, Aizawa begins to pick out who he wants to throw the first ball. He calls on Izuku himself, the person that actually got the #1 score out of everybody in the entrance exam, in which Bakugo argues saying that he for sure got better. But Izuku basically just doesn't even say anything to this and just continues to walk forward and launches the ball at full strength he can possibly do, launching the ball upwards of 8,000 meters. He looks at the ball as it sails back down, and Aizawa smiles seeing the meter at 8,000.
Good job, kid. You seem like you're gonna live up to the hype. That's good. Maybe you won't be useless like these other people.
Yeah, thanks, I think. Izuku goes to walk back toward the line, but Bakugo charges right at him with an explosion. Aizawa grabs him and cancels his quirk before he can do anything. You know I would have been fined, right? You've read up on my quirk, correct, Aizawa-sensei?
Yeah, but it's really not a good look letting my student get hit. But yeah, so that's why. I know you would have just not taken damage. I've seen your quirk, but still, gotta look like a semi-good teacher, right?
Yeah, that's fair enough. Bakugo continues to scream and tell them that they're useless and idiots, but Izuku has mastered the art of ignoring the Bakugo, or ignoring the Pomeranian, so he doesn't really think too much about it. And basically, they go through a ton of quirk assessment tests. We're talking about races, we're talking about grip tests, stretching, stuff like that. All the basic stuff you would do in your middle school, like fitness gram exam or something. All that stuff is kind of done, finished, and Izuku actually does get first in the entire exam. But Aizawa doesn't really bring up the fact that, well, you could say, oh yeah, we're gonna expel one of you, because I don't really care about that idea. But Aizawa does make it pretty apparent that he would expel anybody that doesn't stand up to his level of critique, and that if he sees anybody slacking off and stuff like that, he won't hesitate to throw them out. That's just the Aizawa way, I guess. And Aizawa is dead serious about this, and most of the students actually do know this, that Aizawa is that way, and he's done that with multiple classes. But after the quirk assessment test is done, everybody is practically just sent to the dorms and just rest for the rest of the day, and they kind of just get to know each other, talk about whatever, and just introduce each other to one another. When the next day arrives though, they're expecting just a normal lesson. I mean, obviously maybe the first day was something out of the ordinary, but that actually would not be the case. It would actually be that this day would be even greater. The wish that Izuku wanted to train with the one and only All Might would actually come true right now. All Might comes busting through the door.
I am here, walking through the door like a normal person.
All Might more or less just tells them that they're going to be doing some hero versus villain training and to meet him outside, in which Izuku actually goes and gets his hero costume, and when he looks, he actually sees that it's very, very interesting. It's this dark leather type of clothing, like some dark lord or demon lord type of clothing. It's actually pretty sick. He finds it to be awesome, and he's been actually sketching a bunch of the stuff very similar to this, because he kind of got out of the phase of the whole I want to look like All Might thing, and a little breakthrough of canon. I don't think that's kind of weird that he wanted to look like All Might. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but like when you want to be like your number one hero, you would think you wouldn't want to look exactly like him. Like you want to be better than him, but hey, more power to you, I guess. But Izuku does have like that demon lord look that that Rimuru had in That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, so keep that in mind as well. And they all head out, and Izuku eventually gets some time to actually speak with All Might, and saying that it's a pleasure to be getting trained by him. All Might did say that he would be training him.
You know, young Midoriya, I did tell you I would be training you, but, you know, in its own way.
Midoriya starts kind of laughing about this and is happy to see that at least he can train with someone like All Might, and happy to see that he's going to get this chance. And right after that is kind of said and done, All Might begins explaining what's going to happen. Hero versus villain training. It's going to be a 2v2. Villains will have to protect a bomb and basically stop the heroes from touching the bomb within the first 5 minutes. And they're actually going to start with their teams right now. And once All Might starts, he begins to say the teams.
The hero team will be Izuku Midoriya and Shoko Todoroki. And the villain team would be Katsuki Bakugo and Tenya Ida.
And this actually does make Midoriya kind of happy. The fact that he can fight with the reincarnate of Veldora, even though, well, Shoko doesn't really want to admit that. Or Shoka doesn't really want to admit that. But even with that said, doesn't really matter to him. Eventually she will learn. And she will realize that she is the reincarnate when she unlocks the power that is practically connected with the reincarnate of Rimuru Tempest, which in this scenario would be Izuku Midoriya. So they all get ready, and Shoka and Izuku begin to actually create a plan, and it's actually a pretty simple one. It's kind of just go up there and beat them up. Not gonna lie, probably not the smartest plan for Midoriya, but at the end of the day, they kind of outpower them by a good margin. So he doesn't really see the need to not just run in headfirst to just absolutely and utterly destroy them. So he feels that's probably the best way of going about it. And that ends up working pretty well. Izuku heads up immediately with Shoka, and Bakugo comes charging in. When Bakugo tries to blast Shoka, Izuku just steps in front, takes the blast as if it was literally nothing, changing into a slime form, covering him slightly as Shoka just wraps the little band they get, or like the paper clip, or the tape or whatever, the capture tape, there you go, around Bakugo, and instantly captures him with relative ease, especially because Izuku kind of had him already detained. And even in the speakers above, you can hear All Might say that he was quickly captured by Shoka and Izuku's teamwork. After defeating him, it's kind of a landslide. Frankly, Tenya Ida would have no chance in terms of beating them. Izuku's powers alone would cause extreme trouble in terms of closing the distance, and also his projectile attacks that he has, even paralyzation attacks. So he does decide to run in with Shoka, and he uses paralyzing breath, and it completely stuns Tenya, and he touches the bomb. It was pretty efficient, pretty quick, and All Might was even impressed, saying that they definitely had some good teamwork, but it seems like the random roll that he kind of did made him kind of get outclassed, in which Bakugo gets kind of mad about this and says that if it was a fight to the death, he would have won. But Izuku says that's probably not even the case, because he's not even sure if he can, well, die. But that's beyond the point, really. And all the fights then go on practically normal. Everything that would have happened kind of already happens, just like how usual. Just switch out Todoroki for Ochako, and maybe we have like slightly different things happen, but like to the point, it's not too effective, or it doesn't affect Izuku, so there's no real reason to talk about that too much. But All Might does congratulate everybody for doing a great job and says that they all put in really proper effort and Aizawa would be proud to see it. But it's for some reason they feel as if they could just hear Aizawa's critiques already and hear all of the negative stuff Aizawa is going to say, which is kind of true. That's kind of just the Aizawa way. But All Might then lets them all go and they're all done for the day, having a nice time just resting and relaxing, and Izuku of course continues his training in one of the UA gyms. During this training though, Izuku does get approached by someone, and it's actually Bakugo Katsuki, his former best friend and best bud in basically preschool. But Izuku kind of just tells him to scram off, like he doesn't really care, and Bakugo questions what's wrong with him, that he's being such a nerd and that he's not like why is he ignoring him all the time. But Izuku doesn't really respond to this. Like if Bakugo doesn't know the reason, then he doesn't really deserve to know the full reason why he's ignoring him now. Like Izuku started getting bullied initially because of his quote-unquote lame quirk. He can turn into a slime. But like even after he proved that he had more of a quirk than just that, the other kids and Bakugo refused to basically believe it. But whatever. They just thought he was just some nerd and that was about it. But still, Izuku doesn't necessarily hold a grudge, but he does keep his quote-unquote friends at arm's length. There's no reason for him to keep them all close when someone like Bakugo still exists. Bakugo, hearing this, does get mad and even tries to attack Izuku, but he easily detains Bakugo and throws him out of the gym and tells him not to come back because he's still training. And obviously Bakugo would just leave and be pretty pissed about this. Izuku finishes up his training session and walks out and heads back to the dorms, and people actually do question when he gets back, asking what he was doing. And he just explains that he was training up and that he does that a lot now because he wants to continuously learn how to adapt and use all of his skills, in which they think that's pretty honorable. The fact that he wants to train that hard and get stronger to that degree is pretty impressive. But after some time and after they all head to bed, the next day of UA, or at least the next important event of UA, would then occur. Aizawa waits there and basically tells them all that they're going to be going to the USJ. The USJ is basically a facility that will basically simulate rescue training. And Aizawa says that someone else is going to be there to actually explain that to y'all. So he allows them all to head to the bus, calls them rejects just like normal, and tells them to all head off. They head off on the bus, heading towards the USJ. When they arrive at the USJ, they're actually greeted by Pro Hero 13, and Ochako fangirls over her a little bit, saying that she's such a big fan. When Izuku walks in, he begins to sense a ton of stuff. We're talking a ton of these villains that seem to be on the passageway to there. He's not so sure what's even going on. But when he senses this, he decides he'll tell Aizawa. Aizawa, I sense something. Something's coming, like big. Try to use your communicators or anything right now. Aizawa tries to do just that, and nothing's working. It seems all their communicators, cell phones, and anything you can think of is all being jammed. Aizawa points to the door and tells them to get out right now, but just as they're about to leave, a portal opens at the middle of the USJ, and a man with hands on his face by the name of Tomura Shigaraki arrives in full effort to make some havoc, you could say. Make some people, some children, some high school future heroes in training deceased. Tomura Shigaraki is now the next fight, the next trial in Izuku's journey, but that's not only it. It seems that Tomura Shigaraki, is not just there to find All Might and kill him, he's there to seek out both Izuku and Shoka, because he knows the power they both wield deep down inside. And that is a wrap for the technical part 1 of, well, Deku reincarnated as Rimuru, or Rimuru Tempest. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, sub, comment down below, and leave any suggestions you have for future what ifs, being that of My Hero Academia, Shield Hero, Jujutsu Kaisen. Maybe even that time I got reincarnated as a slime, Demon Slayer, stuff like that. I'm trying to add variety. I'm trying my best. When's the next part of this coming out? I'm not sure. Maybe it'll be tomorrow. Maybe it'll be in 2-3 days. I'm not so sure yet how consistently I'll do this. But if you enjoyed and you like the longer video, I mean, I made a pretty long video. I'm kind of used to making these long videos now, but if you like them, make sure to leave a like, sub, and comment down below, like I said. And I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.
I don't wanna waste what's left.